Yan, hello and good afternoon teachers. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Okay, welcome to our usual Thursday session. Okay, and this is still very much part of our November series. Okay, and we have again, yet again, a very interesting topic for today. Which is very important. Lalo na po ngayon, nag-start na po tayo sa ating pilot testing ng ating face-to-face setup sa education sa Philippines. Okay, but before we do that, okay, and before we get into this session and today's session, okay, may I ask lang po sa ating po mga live viewers today to please share our link so we could invite more educators in our session for today so we can all uh, not just benefit from the discussion but also engage and be part of the discussion about this because it's also important that our voices are also heard about this new approach into education that will definitely impact our professional and our work. Okay? So before we start, I'd like to greet our teachers from the chat. Okay? So magandang hapon. I hope you are all safe. Okay? And we are all doing fine at healthy po tayong lahat. But let me greet our teachers starting from 4:30 p.m. Teacher Christian Harumamay. Okay? Teacher A Hopeful Talks. Okay? Let's all subscribe to the channel, teachers. Okay? Teacher Gladys Cannon, Teacher Evelyn Sunico, Teacher Aldrin Ponce, Teacher Rhea Marie Robas, Teacher Maridel Casas, Teacher Shenli Tresia Despi, Teacher Lord Lena, Arlene De La Cruz, Nolly Boy, good afternoon po, from Cavite, Arnulfo D. Crenshaw. Okay. Teacher Mark Noel Yonko, good afternoon. Teacher Christopher Camelon, of course, Sir Jeffrey Beltran, good afternoon. Shout out from Marikina City. Good luck po, Sir Jeffrey, sa session niyo tomorrow sa Edu Frontier. Hope to actually to see your session. Okay, Teacher Marisa Gumabong, right from Iloilo. Teacher Jessie Ray Millamena from San Joaquin, Iloilo. Okay, hope to visit you very soon po sa Iloilo. Teacher Patricia Panganiban, good afternoon. Teacher Rosemalen Rosel, sabi nga Teacher Rosemalen, sana hindi po tayo high blood, only hybrid learning lang. Pastor Manny Garcia, good afternoon, straight away from Imos City, Cavite. Teacher Michael Angelo Soberano from Cabugao, Ilocos Sur. Okay? Teacher Leia Silva, Ivan Shane, good afternoon. Teacher Noreen Del Piero, Teacher Carrie Dominic Abihuro, hindi pa teacher pero napakasipag ng umattend ng ating mga webinars. Nang pagpasok nito sa teaching, sobrang lawak na ng understanding ni Teacher Carrie sa kanyang profession. Teacher Aldo Alpapara, Teacher Ronally Mejos, Mary Joyce Condino, Rosalit Macadat, Gemma Rivera, Rachel Dacanay, Teacher Equinox, okay, good afternoon. Hopefully po, and please do contribute to. This is a fruitful session because you are here. Okay. Not only because our speaker today is a brilliant speaker, because also you can contribute to this discussion. Okay. Celsius Watchon, Joseph Odalon Hermetanyo, parang wala pa yatang absent, no? This is Teacher Joseph. Parang nalapit ko na bigyan ng Loyalty Award, Sir Joseph Odalon Hermetanyo. Okay. Teacher Vina Malipot, Maestro Andoy, okay, good afternoon. Pamela Berandas Boots, Jennifer Librado, Shenli Tresia Des, nag-greet na natin kanina. And for the rest of our teachers in the chat, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. I hope that you are all doing well and doing fine. Okay? So teachers, para sa hapong ito, pag-uusapan natin ay hybrid learning and post-pandemic scenario. We are already into the phase of testing a pilot, a face-to-face setup. May I know sa ating audience right now kung meron po ba tayong mga kasama sa pilot testing? Let me see kung meron tayong makikita ngayon. Okay? Although medyo syempre delayed ako sa YouTube ngayon. Okay? But let's wait at the chat kung meron ba tayong mga teachers at the moment right here na kasama sa pilot testing. Because also that will actually be a very important input makapag-express po sila at makapag-share how was it? How was the first week of pilot testing? Okay? Yun, let us know kung meron po tayong mga teachers na part ng pilot testing or have already engaged in a face-to-face setup. We would like to hear your opinions. course, no, ang driving force talaga natin, no, and motivation for this session is actually all about, okay, giving us an idea about what exactly is hybrid learning. Alam ko po, we have an idea about hybrid learning. We have encountered hybrid learning, prior to the pandemic. No, we know already how to go about it, but the pandemic and what we have experienced for the last 2 years have redefined what exactly is hybrid learning. Okay, so what we're going to try to share today, our speaker, okay, will try to attempt to cover, and to see changes in the concept of hybrid learning, as well as how the pandemic now has redefined the hybrid learning, okay, so that we are better prepared in our post-pandemic scenario. Okay, yan ang pinaghahandaan natin kasi it's no longer like too far. Okay, we are almost at the end of the tunnel, no, sa pandemic na to. We're seeing a closer time going back to the classroom. But okay, it should not be just going back to the classroom as usual. We know that it will take so much preparation. Okay, we have to prepare a lot of things, no. So there should be like mental, physical, emotional preparation for us to be able to ease back into our face-to-face setup. Okay, and with that, I am very honored, okay, to present to you, okay, our resource speaker for today, who will help us better understand, okay, hybrid learning in the post-pandemic situation or post-pandemic scenario. Okay, and of course, teachers, disclaimer lang. Okay, of course, we still haven't really gone, okay, fully into the post-pandemic. Okay, so what we're going to be discussing today and what our speaker will actually be covering today will be like thoughts, ideas, based on observations, based on research, etc. Okay, but it's not by any means going to be like this is going to be the 100% what's going to be applied and what's going to happen. Okay, some of them will definitely might be incorporated into the post-pandemic scenario, but not all of them. What we're going to do today and what we intend to do today is to give you that much sense of what the post-pandemic scenario could be. Okay, not what it is, because we're not yet still in the post-pandemic scenario. Okay, so let me introduce to you, to all of you, and it's my honor to present to you our brilliant speaker for today. Okay, so our speaker for today, Mr. Angelo D. Uy, is the Principal 2 of Binyan City Science and Technology High School, the legislated Science High School of the Division of Binyan City, Laguna, established and opened only in 2021. Before pioneering this school, he was awarded the Outstanding Secondary Principal during the Division Gawad C. Naglaya search for individuals and groups leveraging actions and that yield achievements in education in 2020. In addition, he is the national top-notcher of the 2018 Principals Test. He worked as a detailed personnel accomplishing the task of a project development officer in the Human Resource Development Division of the Bureau of Human Resource and Organizational Development, BHROD, of the DepEd Central Office in October 2019 to 2020. He was one of the focal persons in handling the results-based performance management system, so he knows very well the RPMS. He is a graduate cum laude of the Philippine Normal University, Manila, with a degree of Bachelor of Science in Mathematics for teachers in 2017. He is a Master of Arts in Mathematics in Education graduate of PNU Manila and University of Perpetual Health System, Laguna. Also, he was a former Semio Rexam Scholar in 2016. Currently, he is taking the executive program for Career Stage 2 and 3 School Head with Doctor of Philosophy in Education, Leadership, and Management, that's PhD, EDLM, as the academic course in PNU Manila through the NEAP PNU Linking Standards and Quality Practice Scholarship. Mr. Uy is a trainer and a facilitator in various seminars, workshops, and mathematics education, human resource development, and assessment. And ang natatanging guro ng Binyan Awardee in 2015. Let us welcome to our stream, Sir Angelo D. Uy.
Hello Sir Franco, magandang hapon po sa iyo at sa lahat po ng ating mga tagapanood at tagapakinig ngayong hapon na ito.
Maraming salamat, Sir Angelo. No? Before I give you the floor, okay, bago po natin simulan ang inyong session, okay, I would like just to ask no, siguro for like a brief overview okay, ng ating session for today so that our teachers okay, know exactly what we'll be tackling today, what we'll be talking about today, and what we'll be covering for today.
Thank you Sir Franco. Actually, no, yung disclaimer na binanggit mo sa ating mga nanonood ngayon ay yun yung parang overview na of what we will do this afternoon hanggang mamayang 7 p.m. no. We'll be having this session that will try to explore on hybrid learning as one of the scenarios maybe as you mentioned Sir Franco kanina no as one of the strategies in teaching as one of the landscapes ng ating education in the post-pandemic scenario. And we would like again to reiterate that this is, I hope that this will be a discussion na ako po I will share some inputs but we will also would like to hear from you kung ano po yung mga na-experience niya during this pandemic and how you also envision the post-pandemic scenario in education. At kung mayroon nga pong mga nag-participate na sa ating pilot implementation of the limited face-to-face classes in the country. So maganda po na makuha rin po namin ang mga inputs na yon so that we can better discuss no and brainstorm on the possible scenarios in the post-pandemic times.
Yes, maraming salamat. I think ang pinaka-importanting point natin dito is that what we are going to do here is a collaborative webinar, no? Not as a webinar from one perspective only. Okay? And that's the beauty of this webinar. Okay? So Sir Angelo, okay? I won't take off too much of your time. Okay? We are now ready for your presentation. Okay? Sorry Sir Angelo, no, just a comment, no. Kanina kasi okay yung presentation but now I think because split screen,
okay.
nag-ano siya, lumiit yung ating presentation.
Sige
So
po, I'll
teachers, so
try to
while
fix.
Sir Angelo is fixing that, no, and doing something about the presentation, Kim, I'll be at the chat, no, just in case to engage with you. So if you have questions, concerns, let me know, and I will ask of that, no, to Sir Angelo later on during our panel discussion. Okay, Sir Angelo, good luck on your session. Teachers, enjoy the session. Let's engage each other. Let's participate and let's actively, listen to our speaker for today.
Thank you, Sir Franco. And I hope that the screen is now okay. Okay na yung ating slide, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay na po. We can see it clearly.
So again, magandang hapon po sa lahat ng ating mga tagapanood ngayon who are in our YouTube stream, no? And as I mentioned kanina po during the overview, sana po ay ito ay maging collaborative discussion. Let us know also your feedback, your inputs, your insights on how we deliver our basic education services sa panahon po ngayon. And let us try to relate what we are doing currently sa lahat sa magiging sitwasyon natin no post-pandemic. Okay, and because we also value your inputs and feedback to this session. Ayan, so as we have seen already in the earlier parts of our session, ay meron ang ating pong topic will be hybrid learning, the post-pandemic scenario. And before we formally start with my sharing no of about this topic on hybrid learning as the post-pandemic scenario, gusto ko lang din po sana na marinig po sa inyo, galing sa inyo. So by typing in the YouTube comments box, no, ang inyo pong mga current na practices, reflections, anything no that you want to share at this point of time ng ating school year 2021-2022 and also kung ano pa yung mga baon natin no also from last school year when we started delivering a distance education to our learners. So I would also gladly would appreciate if ano po aside from your greetings in the comments box in our YouTube, so mas ma-appreciate po namin din na makita po ang inyong mga sharing of experiences, insights and inputs. Currently, no, ano bang nararamdaman nyo ngayon? Kahit one word lang to share what you are feeling right now in this point of time in this school year 2021-2022.
Sir Jello,
Okay,
I
siguro,
came back
sige pa.
in, no, just to read the responses, no. There are some responses in the chat right now. This is one from teacher Christian Tumbaga. And one realization is that he said, mahirap pala ang online teaching, no. I think that's one very, very clear perception. And he followed it up with pagod lagi.
Ayan, thank you Sir Franco. So talagang ano po no, ganun yung siguro most of the teachers, if not all of the teachers are really experiencing that difficulty, that yung pagiging pagod natin sa araw-araw. Ako bilang school head, I cannot experience siguro the same level of difficulty nung ginagawa nyo ngayon as teachers. However, I also manage and lead teachers. So therefore, I also listen no, to these stories of challenges. And aside from that, maganda rin pag-usapan no, yung mga bagay na naging maganda din sa bawat araw natin sa school year 2021-2022. But again, that's acknowledged and talaga pong medyo nakakapagod. Ngayon po no medyo nawawalan tayo ng boundaries din ng time. Dati alam natin na pag-uwi na tayo from the school ay halos tapos na kahit naman nung before the pandemic talagang gumagawa tayo ng maraming tasks kahit beyond working hours. However, ngayon medyo talagang nag-iba na yung landscape natin ng ating profession, lalo na ngayon na distance education yung ating ginagawa in the delivery of our basic education services. So that's acknowledged, and also please keep the inputs coming, no, share lang din tayo diyan ng ating mga experiences, kahit one word lang or a very brief description of how you are right now in this time of the school year. Okay? Siguro Sir Franco, mamaya basa tayo ulit din ng mga ilan no as we proceed with the session. Sige pa. Okay, so ang atin pong again pag-uusapan natin gamit yung inyong mga nilagay no sa ating comment box sa YouTube ay gusto natin na diyan tayo manggaling. Ano ba yung current na status natin ngayon? Ano yung nararamdaman natin ngayon? Because hindi tayo makakarating doon sa post-pandemic scenario and how we try to visualize it. Kung hindi natin hindi natin sisimulan sa kung anong nararanasan natin ngayon in this time of the school year, papunta doon sa post-pandemic scenario na we will try to visualize, we'll try to think about it, no, ano ba yung mga features nito, ano ba yung mga ginagawa natin in the post-pandemic scenario, being the hybrid learning as one of the scenarios in the post-pandemic time. Okay, so let me share no ang isang article written last October 23, 2021. Ang title ng article is What Will Be the New Normal in the Philippine Education Post-Pandemic. So very very relevant dun sa ating gustong pag-usapan ngayong hapon na ito. So ano ba yung new normal? Sabi ni Education Assistant Secretary Malcolm Garma, sabi niya, what I see is that the new normal would be a combination of the school-based and home-based. Hindi na talaga yung purely classroom ang ating new normal in education. And personally, no, as a school leader and also a teacher, I also envision that post-pandemic, ang ating magiging scenario ay combination of the school-based and the home-based. And sa mga nagpa-pilot no, ng ating limited face-to-face classes ngayon, starting last Monday, ay nakita na nila kung ano yung isa sa mga possible scenarios post-pandemic. Again, some academicians will tell us na ang sitwasyon natin ngayon ay hindi pa daw new normal. Kasi ang new normal daw ay pagkatapos pa na recover tayo no dun sa effects aftermath of the pandemic. Pero kahit na hindi pa tayo nakakarating dun sa sinasabi ng mga academicians na new normal, medyo meron na rin tayong feel of what will happen. Kasi yung ginagawa natin ngayon, lalo na yung mga nagpa-pilot ng ating limited face-to-face classes, and as related to what was mentioned by Assistant Secretary Malcolm Garma of the Department of Education, ay medyo nagkakaroon na din tayo ng feel ngayon of what the new normal will be, which is again post-pandemic. So combination daw ito ng school-based and home-based, and that's again nung binanggit nyo yung mga experiences nyo ngayon at this point of the school year. Sana ma-imagine na natin, no, ma-visualize natin ano nga ba ang kinaibahan ng ginagawa ko ngayon at nararamdaman ko ngayon compared to what would it be, no, in the post-pandemic time or post-pandemic period. So paano itong kunwari nasa pure online distance learning modality ako. Ako ay generally working from home kasi baka possibly, no, in the school ay medyo mahina internet, so I decided together with the consent of my school head na mag-work from home ako. So working from home, using or utilizing online distance learning modality in the delivery of the education, paano kaya ito mag-iiba pagdating sa sinasabi na magkakaroon ng combination ng school-based and home-based? So how will I envision it coming in that direction? So dapat importante po yun, no, na iniisip natin yung nangyayari ngayon, pero meron tayong vision also of the future kasi mas ma-assess natin yung sarili natin kung ano nga ba yung mga kailangan pa natin personally and professionally pag dumating na itong punto na ito na post-pandemic na yung situation. Okay, again, no, as I share some of this input, sana po meron tayong meron tayong interaction na nangyayari sa YouTube comment box natin so that Sir Franco can later on try to tell us, no, tell everyone kung ano yung mga inputs natin and what we think of about the points of discussion this afternoon. So now on the slide, no, nakikita po natin na ito, again, these pictures are from the DepEd Philippines FB page. At nakita po natin, and as I mentioned, na noong November 15, that was last Monday, ay nag-start na tayo ng face-to-face classes and the start of the second academic quarter in the school year of public schools and maybe some private schools na nag-start ng September 13 din ng kanilang classes for this school year. So nag-start ng face-to-face classes ng November 15. That will be until January 31, 2022, the end of the pilot study. So hindi sila muna magtutuloy-tuloy, no, after January 31 kasi kailangan muna after the pilot implementation ay mabalikan ulit ano yung mga bagay na nangyari during November to January at mai-evaluate itong mga nangyaring ito at mai-present ito sa ating president, yung pilot report and the proposed expansion that originally is targeted by March 7 of 2022. So meaning from the pilot 100 public schools na nag-start noong November 15 at yung ating 20 na private schools na mag-start naman on Monday, November 22, ay magkakaroon na ng iba pang mga participants in the expansion stage of the implementation of the limited face-to-face classes. Sa aming school, we are trying now to prepare on the proposed expansion, no. Hindi natin pa sure kung magkakaroon ng adjustments on the original timeline. So however, we are now looking forward to March 7, 2022 na magkakaroon expansion stage and maybe our school will be part of the expansion. However, we're not yet sure, no, kasi 3-phase implementation ito na ating limited face-to-face classes, starting from the pilot and then next is the expansion and then targeted na 100% of the schools will really implement the limited face-to-face classes. Now, going back to what was mentioned by ASEC Garma, ito na yung start nung sinasabi niya na post-pandemic ay magkakaroon ng combination ng home-based and school-based learning. So, the pilot schools are now doing the school-based na na delivery of the education. And also, dun sa mga araw at mga oras na wala ang bata sa school because of the limited face-to-face setup, yun naman yung home-based learning. So, maganda, no, na kung meron tayong mga kasama ngayon sa ating YouTube live stream na nanonood at nakikinig sa atin ngayon, ay makapag-share, no, yung mga participants in the pilot implementation, yung ating 100 na public schools. And later on, let's see, no, kung makakapag-share tayo ng mga ilang inputs from them. Also, you can see pictures of, again, from the DepEd Philippines FB page ng setup in the in the school-based learning as mentioned by Asek Garma. So etong nakikita yung pictures in the middle, these two pictures are actually senior high school students which are part of the pilot implementation. Kasi ang pinayagan lang na key stages for pilot implementation ay ang ating key stage 1, meaning kindergarten to grade 3. And then our key stage 4, the senior high school, particularly for the TVL or the Technical Vocational and Livelihood track of the senior high school. Now, on the rightmost part of your screen, nakikita natin yung I believe these are kindergarten students also participating in the limited face-to-face classes pilot implementation which started last Monday. So, kahit sa pictures man lang and posts in the DepEd Philippines Facebook page, nakikita na natin, ako bilang school head ay talagang tinitingnan ko yung mga posts na ito, para nakikita ko kahit sa pictures man lang yung itsura. Kasi as a school head, I should know kung paano namin ipuput up, i-establish lahat ng components of what is expected in the delivery of the limited face-to-face classes. So again, as I mentioned, try to visualize now as you listen to me kung paano kaya ito mangyayari sa akin given my current context. Paano kaya magbabago ang buhay ko bilang guro pag ako ay nandito na sa ganitong sitwasyon. Now, as in an article published last October 2020 entitled A Guide to Hybrid and Blended Learning in Higher Education, so probably in most applicable ito in the higher ed. However, I show some parts of the article which are relevant and applicable to the context of basic education. So nakikita natin ngayon that there are 4 forms of delivery of education. So meron tayong face-to-face, meron tayong blended, may hybrid, and may online. And nakikita nyo merong parang continuum na merong arrow, two-headed arrows na nakikita kayo ngayon on the screen. Yung papunta sa left portion ay 100% in person at yung papunta naman sa rightmost portion ay 100% online. And as you can see, hybrid learning is between yung blended at hybrid are falling in the middle of the learning spectrum between the fully in-person instruction and the fully online instruction. So alam natin na nung bago mag-pandemic, meron tayong face-to-face, 100% in-person yon, and the learning takes place in a traditional brick-and-mortar classroom. So katulad nitong nakikita nyong illustration in your screen. Now sa online naman, which is again going to 100% online, all learning takes place online. So itong illustration will also tell you that ganyan yung isa sa ating learning delivery modality, which is the online distance learning. Majority of the schools in the country are offering the modular distance learning, may it be digital or printed. So pa rin iba-iba yung ating konteksto ngayon. At paano kaya itong LDM or learning delivery modality na meron tayo ngayon ay ipapartner natin sa limited face-to-face classes? How will our work as a teacher differ pag nangyari yon compared to what we are doing right now? So I want to focus mainly on the middle forms, particularly blended and hybrid. Pag sinabing blended, technology is used to complement traditional classroom learning. Again, complementation, meaning kahit na nasa in-person class ka, pwedeng gumagamit ka ng mga technology or ng applications like features of the online distance learning to complement the face-to-face instruction. That is already a form of blended learning. However, how is it different from hybrid learning? Sabi sa hybrid, learning takes place online and offline, with online learning replacing some face-to-face instruction. So hindi siya complementation kundi merong replacement pag sinabing hybrid learning. So since our sharing this afternoon ay tungkol sa hybrid learning, paano nga ba natin pagsasamahin yung current modality ninyo, kung ito man ay online, modular, or TV radio-based instruction, at ipapartner siya sa face-to-face classes Tapos yung inyong modality ngayon or yung face-to-face classes ay replacement ng bawat isa dun sa mga tasks, activities, the things that you are doing, no, and the students are doing in the context of education. So yun yung hype, yun yung pinagkaiba, no. There's only a very thin line between thin line of difference between blended and hybrid. So tignan natin yung difference na yon. So when we try to differ hybrid and blended learning, sinasabi dito and again from the same article, no, that hybrid learning and blended learning are often used interchangeably, but there is a subtle difference between the two terms. So very subtle, very thin yung difference. Kasi in the context of DepEd, no, mas ginagamit natin yung blended learning. Basta pag nag-combine ka ng 2 or more modalities, you call them blended learning. However, merong difference kasi iyon sa hybrid learning. So, but blended learning focuses solely on incorporating distance learning with traditional instruction. Again, incorporating, complementing traditional instruction with a form of distance learning. Like in my sample earlier na online tools, if your modality is online distance learning. While meanwhile, no, hybrid learning focuses on incorporating any possible learning technique, no matter if it's online or offline, to best teach the content. No, kahit ano lang. Again, ang term natin na pwedeng gamitin for hybrid learning to relate it to hybrid learning is replacement. So meron kang part ng delivery of instruction na nire-replace mo. I think that best describes, no, yung nangyayari ngayon dun sa mga nagpa-pilot implement ng limited face-to-face classes. So another differentiator is that blended learning focuses on an equal balance of distance learning and traditional instruction. Again, equal balance, complementation, incorporation. While hybrid learning typically leans more heavily on online or non-traditional instruction. So it leans more heavily on one modality. So again, sa mindset na yon, ibig sabihin may nare-replace, no? Hindi siya nagpo-coexist yung dalawa na nag-incorporate, nag-integrate katulad ng nangyayari sa blended. So sa hybrid, kung saan man, no, kung sa online nagli-lean more heavily or sa non-traditional, yun yung feature or konsepto ng hybrid learning. So again, very thin line, pero merong subtle difference pa rin between the two forms na nandun sa gitna ng ating pinakita kanina na continuum. So again, as I share, no, visualize natin and let us know through the YouTube comment section kung ano ang ating mga initial thoughts and ideas about moving forward to hybrid learning compared to what you are currently doing. Okay, so isang sample ng model for blended learning muna tayo, no. For blended, it's the flipped classroom model. Kung nakaka-relate po kayo, let us know in the YouTube comment box kung ano po yung inyong mga practices that manifest or demonstrate the flipped classroom model. Again, this is one model for blended learning. Dito kasi sa model na ito, students complete online coursework and lectures outside of the classroom, so instructors can use class time for guided practice and projects, encouraging deeper learning. Kung napapansin nyo, medyo meron na din, kahit I mentioned that this is a form or a model for blended learning, dahil nga merong very subtle difference between blended and hybrid, more or less parang nagiging hybrid siya. Pero para mas maging hybrid yung model na yan, this model can also be adapted for hybrid learning by adjusting the ratio of traditional instruction to distance learning and or by substituting distance learning for other offline or experiential learning methods. So again, may replacement, may substitution na dapat mangyari pag hybrid learning yung pinag-uusapan compared to blended learning. Kasi yung flipped classroom model, di ba ang ginagawa dyan ay parang binibigay na assignment or yung ano no, yung mga videos, panoorin mo na yung mga videos outside of the classroom or the class time. Para yung class time ay gagamitin na lang para i-discuss yung mga videos na pinanood para ano no, para magkaroon ng guided practice and projects deep at mentorage yung deeper learning. Para hindi na sa mismong synchronous class, in-person class, papanoorin yung mga video, for example, videos yung part of the lectures that will happen outside of the classroom or outside of the class time. So para mas maging hybrid yung model na yan, again, we can revisit and try to really delineate between what is happening in the in-person classes and what is happening in the non-traditional setup, may it be modular or online or any other learning delivery modality. But this model, the hybrid flexible or high flex course model, is now much more or maybe uniquely related to hybrid learning. So again, flipped classroom, mas blended siya, pero kayang i-modify para maging hybrid by doing this, yung substituting, adjusting the ratio, etc. And then, yung itong model na nakikita nyo na hybrid flexible or high flex course model, yan yung talagang mas unique to the hybrid learning. So ano bang nangyayari dyan sa model na yan? So in this model, each class is offered in person, synchronously online, and asynchronously online to provide a student-centered, flexible experience. So ano na siya, combination ng hybrid and also flexible. Kaya high flex course model yung tawag. So bilang model ng hybrid learning, meaning meron dapat na delineation ng mga ginagawa ng bata at ng teacher sa in-person, sa ginagawa niya sa online synchronous, at sa ginagawa niya sa online asynchronous, kung online distance learning yung kapartner nung in-person classes. But again, medyo magkakaroon ng adjustments pag modular distance learning yung kapartner kasi more or less walang opportunities no or walang malawak na opportunities for online synchronous and online asynchronous. Now both students and faculty choose how they'd like to participate. Since it's flexible, may options na ipino-provide and also pwedeng mamili ang students on that on the options being presented by the faculty. So kaya check din natin no kung paano kaya ito kung again, ano to, hybrid flexible. So, merong flexibility sa mga choices and options ng participation no ng mga bata at also ng faculty o ng teachers. Now, for example, an instructor can teach remotely or in person while students learn remotely or join physically in the classroom. So, merong mga participation mode or options na pwedeng pagpilian ang student at ang faculty. So, hindi pa natin sure kung itong high flex course model ay i-adapt no, ng DepEd as an agency na magkakaroon ba ng mga options on how students participate in the learning activities being provided by the faculty or the teachers. Pwede ba na ang teacher ay meron ding options on doing it remotely in person. So, but again, we can now see in the high flex course model the features that I have mentioned about hybrid learning. Now, technology plays a major role in this model to keep students connected, whether through video conferencing, instant messaging, and other means of interaction. So, medyo yung sample na nai-present dito sa high flex course model ay mas in the online distance learning modality and combined it with the in-person classes. So sa modular, again, there will be possible adjustments and different tiered activities or differentiated activities or its difference dun sa i-offer, pwedeng i-offer ng online distance learning modality. Okay, the 4 values or principles of the high flex course design. Since again, it's a flexible hybrid design, no? Meron tayong 4 na values or principles. Una, yung learner choice. Nakita nyo kanina sa sample na pwedeng mamili no, kung paano gusto mag-participate ng student. Mamili, maybe also considering, no, hindi lang basta free will. ng student, kundi kung ano din yung profile niya bilang ano ba yung gadgets na available sa kanya, may internet connectivity ba siya, or hindi niya kaya yon. Baka iba yung kanyang participation mode na pwedeng piliin because of his or her context. So, but in the learner choice principle, sinasabi dito that we should provide meaningful alternative participation modes and enable students to choose between participation modes daily, weekly, or topically. So merong mga options in the frequency of participation, also in the mode or the mode of participation, the modality of participation. Because again of the flexibility component of the high flex course design. Now in the equivalency as the second value or principle, tayo naman daw po ay kailangan mag-provide ng learning activities in all participation modes which lead to equivalent learning outcomes. So kahit na iba-iba yung pinili na participation modes ng mga bata, again dependent on maybe based on frequency or based on the modality, ay kailangan may ino-offer tayo na learning activities na fit for those participation modes. But kahit na iba-iba yon, katulad ng konsepto ng differentiated instruction na kung ang hawak mong sections or classes ay modular distance learning, syempre yung mga tasks doon ay medyo in the low tech or no tech categories of our students. Pero pag nasa online yung pag may hawak ka na online classes, more on the high tech or high technology. So kaya iba-iba yung pino-provide na learning activities differentiated based on the modality but still leading to equivalent learning outcomes. So kahit na ito ay isang value or principle in high flex course design, more or less ginagawa na rin natin siya ngayon kahit na wala pa tayo dun sa hybrid learning na limited face-to-face plus or limited in-person classes plus the other or the non-traditional instruction, may it be online, modular, etc. So kaya pa rin relatable yung mga notes that I am sharing to you. Now the third value or principle is the reusability. Ang kailangan natin dyan is nagawin as teachers is to utilize artifacts from learning activities in each participation mode as learning objects for all students. So kahit na iba-iba yung modality ng mga students na hawak natin or na handle natin in our set of classes, for example in your handled classes, kailangan magkaroon pa rin tayo ng point of similarity. Pwedeng yan ay in the form of the learning objects as mentioned in the description of reusability. Kasi baka may common na learning object na pwede mong ipakita, gamitin sa mga learning activities sa lahat ng participation modes. Kasi kailangan ay merong a certain point of similarity of certain point na nagmi-meet lahat yung mga modalities para makarelate dun sa learning outcomes and learning standards na ating target na ma-achieve ng mga bata. And then the last value or principle is accessibility, and this is the teacher's role of equipping students with technology skills and equitable access to all participation modes. So kahit ano man yung mapili na mode of participation ng mga bata, ay dapat ma-equip natin sila with the equitable access to these participation modes. Kung online man, then we need to further develop them or develop their technology skills. At kung sa modular man, the skills that are needed to cope with modular distance learning. So yan po yung apat na values or principles ng ating hybrid flexible course design, which again are things that we are currently doing, pero mas magiging prevalent yan pagdating natin dun sa tinitingnan natin na post-pandemic scenario of our delivery of basic education. Okay, moving forward, I will just show you some benefits of hybrid learning since we are discussing hybrid learning as one of our post-pandemic scenarios. So ano bang benefits ng hybrid learning for students? Una, greater flexibility in scheduling. Again, because there's learner choice, as one of the principals. Also, since binibigyan natin sila ng option to choose dun sa kung anong participation mode yung gusto nilang puntahan, kung more on the in-person ba or combination of the in-person and the other modality, kung ano man yon, or maybe leaning more heavily on the LDMs that we currently have. So merong flexibility in the scheduling. However, ngayon na sinabi ko po nagpe-prepare na kami in our school, medyo nagkakaroon kami ng challenge din on how we can try to really schedule properly. No, kunwari ang kaya lang kasi ang pwede lang based on the guidelines of limited face-to-face classes ay 20 students lang in a classroom pag sa in-person classes, meron kaming 30 na students per section. So paano namin nahatiin ang batches of students with the primary consideration also of yung ibang bata ay hindi bibigyan ng mga magulang ng consent to attend in-person classes, mas dun sila sa distance learning modalities. So how should we juggle yung mga factors and considerations? So yun yung isa sa mga challenge. However, in the end ng mga students sa side nila, mas benefit ito kasi there will be greater flexibility in the scheduling. So yung na-share ko naman ay one of the challenges of our school in our current preparation for the limited face-to-face classes. Now, second benefit is increased engagement through online content. Since ang hybrid learning ay in-person plus a modality na, again, may delineation at mayroong replacement or substitution na nangyayari. So, if nasa online distance learning yung mga bata kapartner ng in-person classes in the context of hybrid learning, then mas mataas yung engagement nila sa online content. However, pag modular, hindi ganon hindi ganon kataas siguro yung magiging engagement because of their context. Nasa modular nga sila, nasa modular distance learning sila because of the maybe walang gadget or mahinang internet connectivity. So kaya nasa modular distance learning sila. However, it will be a benefit for those who are in the online distance learning. Now, also ability to track learning, kasi alam niyo naman pag sa online distance learning, ayan ay madali na yung monitoring, yung recording, checking. Madali in the sense of the gadgets and the devices that we use, at lang siya in a matter of a click. However, pa rin, I cannot ultimately say na talagang madali kasi nagbago lang naman yung medium. Pero yung dami ng mga bata, yung iba pang mga considerations ay nandiyan pa rin. And as I mentioned, nagkakaroon na nga ng limitless boundary pagdating sa sa work hours, which is again a truth and a fact na nangyayari ngayon sa ating current na system. So mabilis na yung tracking ng learning sa student benefits pag mga Google Forms na quizzes in Google Forms or quizzes, nakikita na nila agad yung mga scores. So natatrack na agad nila yung kanilang learning. Also, their ability to learn at his or her own pace, and it encourages also ownership of learning. So kahit na ito ay benefits ng hybrid learning, nakikita na rin naman natin ito primarily in our current context. So pero mas makikita natin ito pagdating natin dun sa post-pandemic scenario. Now, in terms of faculty benefits o benefits naman natin bilang mga guro sa pagdating sa hybrid learning. So una, potential time savings through less in-person learning. However, I have a certain apprehension on this benefit kasi kahit ngayon nga na sinasabi natin na or sinasabi ng ibang nanonood sa atin na nanonood, meaning yung ating mga external stakeholders, that it's now easier compared to what we have before the pandemic, but I personally I really don't believe that kasi ngayon mas naging mahirap, meron yung mga studies in other countries na dahil sa distance education and because of the pandemic, nagkaroon ng more than double of the workload of the teachers. That's one study I believe in Singapore. Na mas naging double time ang mga teachers niya in terms of workload. So pero since less ang in-person learning, if ang hybrid learning na ipuput up natin in our classrooms and in our schools ay leaning more on the other modality, kunwari maraming time no for the modular distance learning. So meron talagang time savings in the less in-person learning. Okay? And then the second is higher quality interactions with students via email, discussion forums, and online chat. So nakikita naman namin yan ngayon no, in our school kasi kami ay pure online distance learning. So kaya nakikita namin na meron naman din talaga na higher quality interactions via these online tools. However, again, there will be difference if your hybrid learning is not leaning heavily no, in the online distance learning. Okay, the third one is the ability to appeal to varying learning styles, more purposeful face-to-face instruction that emphasizes deeper learning. Kasi kailangan natin no, challenge nga rin sa amin ngayon bilang nagpe-prepare for the limited face-to-face classes. How should we plan or how should the teachers plan the activities para dun sa in-person classes at saka dun sa online distance learning namin na modality. Kailangan kasi ang mga tasks namin sa in-person classes, yung tingin namin na talagang pang in-person class siya. Mas makaka-benefit yung mga students na gawin siya in-person compared to distance. Kasi kung sa online distance lang naman din ay magagawa din yon ng mas okay pa kesa sa face-to-face, then baka kailangan namin i-revisit yung task. So yun yung isa sa challenges na kailangan po when we deliver hybrid learning, kailangan alam natin kung ano yung mga appropriate tasks for the in-person and what are the appropriate tasks in the other modalities or modality. Okay, so yun yung more purposeful face-to-face instruction. Kasi dapat piliin natin yung mga tamang tasks na nagwa-warrant no na talagang magkaroon ng face-to-face yung mga tasks na yon compared to having it in the other modality. And also increased collaboration among the students. Now in terms of the administrator benefits, like for me no being a school head, merong benefit ito like potential cost savings if using less brick and mortar classroom space. So kasi kung mas magre-rely heavily kami sa online distance learning, mas konti yung time namin for the in-person classes at baka hindi ganun kadaming resources no yung kailangan namin in that particular time allotment for the in-person classes. Now, also better student data to write measurable learning outcomes, track real-time progress, and apply early student intervention. Opportunities to upskill faculty, importante ito, maybe during lab sessions, and also sessions like this no, with Agapay teacher support and Sir Franco as the lead, na nagkakaroon tayo ng opportunities to upskill faculty. Given our current experiences, we are now trying to envision no, ano ba yung mangyayari sa post-pandemic scenario. And I believe this session is really should be a session that will also reach out to the other teachers when it comes to hybrid learning as one of the options of the post-pandemic scenario. Also, lastly, ability to expand course offerings to more students. But also aside from the benefits, may challenges kasi kahit naman sa there will be no perfect system. Ang kailangan lang natin is to really capacitate ourselves, capacitate everyone so that kung ano man yung mga shortcomings, challenges, ay ma-mitigate natin yung effects nito in our delivery of the basic education. So may tatlo lang naman na challenges ang hybrid learning. Una, outdated technology infrastructure. Kung lalo na kung ang kapartner ng in-person classes ay online distance learning. So kailangan talaga ay merong updated na technology infrastructure para maging mas worthwhile yung combination or substitution na nangyayari pagdating sa context ng hybrid learning. Also, lack of technology knowledge, kaya importante ang capacity building or capability building for all the teachers. Also for the school administrators kasi kailangan din po na updated kami bilang school heads sa mga trends na ito. And lastly, the course design and strategy. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na challenge namin ngayon. Kasi kailangan namin talagang mag-map, no, mamili ng mga tasks. Ano ba talaga yung mga tasks per subject na pang in-person talaga siya. Kasi mas doon magbe-benefit pag doon ginawa. At ano yung mga tasks na pang online distance learning. And yun yung ginagawa namin ngayon na mapping of the curriculum and the tasks per subject. Kasi challenge siya na kailangan mo talagang mamili very smartly. How should you design the course? How should you design each subject? How should you design the subject given na dalawa yung modalities na na ano namin nagagawin namin. Kasi sabi nga ni Asik Garma on the article I mentioned earlier, ay talagang combination siya ng home-based and school-based learning. So how should we really strategize on that mapping? So take note of that po kasi pag nagkaroon na din kayo ng sariling preparations ninyo kung wala pa pero kung currently nagpe-prepare na rin po kayo in your school, ay kailangan talaga smart nating gagawin yung course design strategy because we don't want na di ba there are also risks, safety and health risks pagdating sa limited face-to-face classes. We cannot deny that. So kaya kung tayo magkakaroon ng limited face-to-face classes, kailangan smart na yung natin, yung decisions and plans natin na talagang yung benefit ng mga tasks na gagawin in the in-person classes ay talagang ma-achieve ng mga bata. Kasi ang isa din naman sa purpose kung bakit tayo meron ngayong pilot implementation is because yung mga key stages na nabanggit ko kanina, kinder to grade 3, kailangan na ma-develop din yung kanilang socio-emotional aspect of their lives as children. So, paano maibabalanse yon dun sa consideration ng mga risks ng health and safety? And then the socio-emotional development of the learners. Okay, nakita niyo ulit ito and I hope na after I discussed some of the components and features of hybrid learning ay nakakapag-isip na kayo ngayon on how your life as a teacher ay magbabago kung meron man, magbabago pagdating ng post-pandemic scenario na pinag-uusapan natin. So later on, maybe Sir Franco can tell us kung ano yung mga nakita natin in the YouTube comment section para ma-share po natin sa lahat. Okay? I am now in the last portion of my discussion in this engagement with you. At nakikita nyo po ngayon, kanina na daanan na natin yung mga features ng hybrid learning. Ngayon, ano nga ba ang konteksto natin sa DepEd? How should we now relate those concepts from articles, from books, from authors to our current context in DepEd as an agency? So, I hope na nakita nyo na po ang School Safety Assessment Tool or the SSAT. Kasi yan po yung tool na gagamitin ng mga schools so that we can it will try to serve as an evidence na ready na tayo to implement the limited face-to-face classes. May mga indicators and standards na nandiyan na kailangan tingnan ng buong school, hindi lang ng school head. Kasi kailangan ang mga teachers ay katuwang din sa pag-a-assess kung talagang ready na ba ang school. At kung hindi pa, kailangan ay magkaroon ng initiatives and efforts to be prepared. Okay, so ang mga categories ng tool from DepEd Memo number 71 series of 2021 ay ayan pong nakikita nyo on your screen. So kailangan tingnan natin ang physical facilities, health and safety, communication and coordination, partnership, data management, work arrangement and class program, curriculum, and capacity building. Lahat ng areas and lahat ng areas of focus pagdating sa school safety. But I want to focus more on the work arrangement and class program and the curriculum kasi yan yung related dun sa mga i-share ko kanina regarding hybrid learning. So pagdating sa work arrangement and class program as one of the categories in the school safety assessment tool, makikita natin na kailangan i-consider in doing the class program for the limited face-to-face classes. ay yan pong mga indicators and standards na nakikita nyo po on your screen. But I want to focus first on number 3, limited face-to-face. Dito po kasi kailangan, ang standard po ay the school has designed class program or programs that cater both learners of the limited face-to-face classes arrangement and distance education while observing the maximum 6-hour classroom teaching hours of the teachers. So, kung hindi pa po kayo masyadong familiar no on how the limited face-to-face classes happen, ano po no, ang mangyayari po kasi ay may mga bata no na lalo na yung mga binigyan ng consent ng mga magulang na mag-participate in the limited face-to-face classes. So they will be the ones no or they are the ones na magpa-participate dun sa limited face-to-face classes. However, again, it's limited face-to-face. Hindi din sila 7 or 8 hours or 6 hours na nandoon sa loob ng classroom sa inyong mga school. It's a limited face-to-face engagement. For grades 1 to 6, I believe it's a 4.5-hour limited face-to-face class. Yung mga may iwan dun sa 4.5, kung meron kayong 6 hours of of contact time with the students per day, ay mangyayari through distance education. Kaya sinasabi dun sa binasa kong standard kanina na dapat may class programs tayo na nag-cater to both the learners in the limited face-to-face setup and then the distance education. So kasi nga meron kayong grupo ng mga bata na nag-limited face-to-face, meron kayong grupong bata na nagdi-distance ed like modular or online, etc. Okay, so for example, no, itong mga nakikita nyo naman sa baba ng standard are what you call indicators. So kailangan may mga class program tayo, for example, na half-day face-to-face classes in one straight week and the other half-day for distance learning. So pwedeng gano'n, no, may mga class sections kayo na half-day yung kanilang face-to-face at half-day naman for distance learning for the entire week. Meron din naman kayo mga classes possibly na one straight week of pure distance learning. Modular man yan or online. Pero ang kailangan ay yung dalawang set of classes na yon ay dapat they should alternately attend face-to-face classes every week for the whole duration of the pilot implementation. So pwedeng mag-alternate no yung class A na sa week, for example, for week 1 of this month ay nag-half-day, meaning face-to-face half-day and then distance half-day. Sila naman yung next week na one straight week of pure distance learning. Tapos yung class B naman yung magiging half-day. So that's how the setup should be. So isa sa mga indicators ng School Safety Assessment Tool ay dapat makagawa tayo ng responsive na class program for the setup of the limited face-to-face, which is more more related na sa hybrid kasi nga meron ka na ngayon na in-person at meron ka na ring the other modality which you are now using as replacement of each other, which is one of the features of the hybrid learning as I discussed earlier. Okay, I will not anymore discuss the others. Pero syempre, pag nagkaroon ka ng separate class programs, ay dapat makonsider mo din yung work arrangement of the teachers. So, kaya kailangan po, no, again, dependent yung work arrangement na ito, yung 1 and 2, dun sa magiging class program. Pero dapat hindi pa rin ma-violate yung mga required number of classroom teaching hours of teachers. Hindi dapat ma-violate yung mga alternative work arrangement conditions. Like for example, ay hindi ay required no na work from home pag may comorbidities, pag nasa age ng 65 ng 60 to 65, mga ganyan. So kailangan ma-consider pa rin 'yon when you are trying to refer to this school safety assessment tool. Now in terms of the curriculum, kasi ito yung ito yung pinili kong categories na mag-focus ako kasi mas related ito dun sa delivery ng ng teachers inside the classroom, kung in person man ito o kaya again in the distance learning na kung ano man yung modality po ninyo. So in the curriculum kasi kailangan lang naman pong tingnan yung supply of learning resources dapat ay sufficient, dapat 1:1 syempre no pag limited face-to-face classes kasi mas okay na walang sharing, no, walang hiraman ng SLM o kaya ng textbook during class hours. Now, for teacher support, in terms of the curriculum, kailangan merong mga lock sessions or mga sessions like this, no, coaching, mentoring, sharing, focus group discussion, para mas mapag-usapan ano nga ba talagang expectations at dapat na ginagawa namin bilang guro pagdating sa face-to-face classes at doon sa iba pang modality, sa modular or online man. And then kailangan din na maayos, no, yung budget of work and also the school requirement for the learners in observance of the academic ease. Ito yung related sa sinasabi ko kanina na dapat maayos yung planning because ano bang mga tasks yung ilalagay sa in-person classes sa subject na ito at ano yung pang-distance learning para talagang ma-achieve natin yung gusto nating target na or goal na ma-achieve. Okay, and then in the last standard, number 4, ayan, may dapat makadevelop din ng school ng learning strategies to cater to the needs of the marginalized learners. Like for example, our special education classes, our indigenous people's education curriculum, and then yung ating mother tongue-based multilingual education for grades 1 to 3. So ano ba yung mga kailangan na i-put up, i-establish at i-prioritize, no, pag sa in-person or sa face-to-face o kaya sa other distance learning delivery modalities. Okay, I believe this is my last slide, no. Ito yung mga ideas, mga personal ideas ko, and siguro this also serves as the synthesis of our sharing, no, this afternoon. Na nabanggit ko na rin naman kanina na dapat may maliwanag na mapping of tasks in the in-person classes and in the non-traditional classes. So pag sinabing non-traditional classes, again, that refers to the other modality. Kung ito man ay modular, online, or other modalities applicable to your classroom or to your school, pag pinartner ito sa in-person classes, dapat maliwanag na naimapa per subject ano yung mga tasks na pang in-person at ano yung mga tasks na pang non-traditional classes. Kasi ayaw natin na magkaroon tayo ng realization na bakit ko ba ito nilagay pa sa face-to-face na task kung mas makikita ko yung impact and benefit nito pag nasa online distance learning. So again, you try to revisit and try to come up with a clear mapping of tasks in the in-person classes and in the non-traditional classes. Also, let us try to see, no, and measure the impacts and try to differentiate, try to compare yung knowledge and skill-based development and the socio-emotional development. Nabanggit ko kanina na kaya ang kindergarten to grade 3 ay parts of the participants, no, in the limited face-to-face classes is because of the socio-emotional aspect. So paano kaya natin magkakaroon ng balanse na ma-develop ang socio-emotional and at the same time yung knowledge and skill-based, no, na development ay maging priority din. The third one is academic ease. Since hybrid learning yung pinag-usapan natin at meron itong combination, no, ng modalities, the in-person and the other modality. So kailangan on guard pa rin tayo dun sa academic ease. Gaano ba kadaming tasks dapat ang gawin for the in-person, for the other modality, and pag pinagsama yun ay ano pa rin ba, are we still adhering to academic ease? And then the last one is learning and safety. While we want to achieve, no, again, knowledge and skill-based development through our learning tasks and activities, both in the in-person and in the distance modalities, kailangan ma-consider pa rin natin yung health and safety of the learners and also of us, no, bilang teachers and also bilang school administrators, ay kailangan mabisita pa rin natin yan. Hindi tayo dapat nawawala na as we ensure learning continuity, we also try to protect the well-being, safety, and health of all the persons involved in our delivery of basic education services. So with that, I am ending my session tonight with again this image that I would like to invite everyone to reflect on what I have shared. And later on, hindi ko lang kasi nakikita ngayon yung YouTube comments box natin, but I would visit it after I end this session. Sige po, with that, maraming salamat po, and I hope na kahit kaunti, again, I don't claim 100% expertise in the topic, but this is how I envision the post-pandemic scenario given our current context as a school and me being a school. So with that, maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat, Sir Angelo, for that. Very, well, it's short, but it's very comprehensive. And I think our teachers had a very good idea and a sense of what hybrid learning and HyFlex, as Sir Angelo have actually clarified later earlier. Okay. So yun, teachers, kung meron po kayong mga questions, concerns, or anything that you'd like to ask, Sir Angelo, ang hirap na pong i-trace or ang hirap na i-monitor kasi sobrang daming insights sa ating chat, And actually, parang may dalawang webinars, Sir Angelo, na nangyayari kanina because there are so many insights and sharing doon sa chat natin, from Teacher Lord Rena, Teacher Jomar, Teacher Manolita White, Manolita Oligo. They have been sharing a lot of insights in the chat. So please keep it coming, yung mga insights natin. Because again, as I mentioned, this is a collaborative webinar. Okay, yan. Okay, so Sir Angelo, maraming salamat for that. Habang nag-iintay po tayo ng questions from our teachers, I have some questions. Okay, I have formulated some questions to ask. Siyempre, magkaiba kasi tayo, sir, ng context. I'm coming from a private institution, but I'm really glad to see your perspective and to hear your perspective about HyFlex learning. Actually, in our school, we also call it HyFlex learning, not really hybrid learning. Okay? Pero so ito yung una kong question, and these are actually very specific for our teachers. Okay? The first one, Sir Angelo, is that I know you've mentioned already the challenges of the entire institution, the entire educational institution. Okay? Pero if we're going to zero in, what could be the possible challenges that our teachers can face in the post-pandemic education? Ano yung mga possible na kaharapin nila? And bilang administrator po, what are the things that we're going to do to be able to prepare our teachers for this?
Yes, sir. Actually, I am now looking at the comments dun sa ating YouTube comment section, and I agree with the inputs of I think Ma'am Manolita White na talagang the challenges, ang mga challenges talaga ay napakarami. Lalo na pag sinabi nating hybrid learning na magkakaroon ng replacement, na again parang yung ating in-person classes or the limited face-to-face classes ay makakapartner niya yung distance learning modalities. So magkakaroon ng challenges in the preparation of learning experiences para sa mga bata. Katulad ng sinabi ko kanina na dapat may clear na mapping ng kung ano yung dapat na task na ginagawa pagdating sa in-person saka sa distance education. So that will also demand effort, initiative from our teachers na mag-prepare ng magkaiba dun sa in-person saka dun sa distance modalities. Na kaiba siya sa ginagawa natin ngayon na kunwari modular lang ang gamit na modality. Ay yun doon tayo gumagawa, ang mga teachers gumagawa ng learning experiences and learning tasks. So ngayon, pagdating sa hybrid learning, makakaroon na ng dalawang facets itong ating ino-offer at ginagawa ng mga learning experiences and learning tasks. So that, again, I think that's one. And again, kaya sinasabi ko kanina ay hindi ito madali. Kasi talagang it will be a challenge for all of us, sa teachers, sa students din, sa school administrators, sa post-pandemic scenario natin. Kaya nga sinabi ko kanina na mas maganda kung meron tayong mga inputs from our pilot implementers kasi mas masasubstantiate natin yung yung discussion pag na medyo na napakinggan natin yung kanila experience after the first 4 days of the implementation. So pero ayun, I agree with Ma'am Manolita about the different things na kaakibat ng hybrid learning natin. Sana ay hindi lang it will be stressful at times, katulad nung nag-share kanina nung umpisa na the current experience. Again, hindi pa rin natin maiwasan yon. However, let us try in our school we are trying to streamline everything para hindi ganun masyadong kabigat pagdating sa implementation. So yun po.
Yes po, no. Syempre, no, at I think isa sa pinakamagandang na-mention ni Sir Angelo kanina is that yung idea that it's not going to be like an abrupt, no, but rather okay, for a while. Not an abrupt, but rather a like a gradual transition. Okay. Sabi nga ni Teacher Carrie Dominic Abihuro, no, Sir Angeles, that meron po bang strategies na i-employ in order para hindi po in a way ma-shock or mabigla ang ating mga teachers?
Actually, sir, sa preparations namin ngayon, medyo nasa initial stages pa kami. So hindi pa namin din na-experience how is it to be implementing this. However, katulad na sinabi ko kanina na sa class programming pa lang nga medyo nahihirapan na kami kasi kung 20 lang yung pwede sa isang classroom at may 30 students kami na class, so paano kami magkakaroon ngayon ng offerings for 2 groups of students per section na ngayon po ay 5 sections ang hawak ng mga teachers, pero pagdating ng hybrid learning magiging parang 10 kasi 2 groups per section So that is one of the challenges that we're currently facing. And also ang namin doon, ang counter initiative kasi namin doon ay kailangan mag-build kami doon sa current experience namin. Ano bang mga mahirap na mga challenges na na-encounter namin in the online distance learning? And how should we now take into consideration those challenges pagdating dun sa pag nagkaroon na ng hybrid learning? Aside from challenges, also the best practices. Siguro Sir Franco, I can share more of this pag medyo nakausad kami din sa mga preparations namin, kasi as of now medyo in the challenge kami muna on the class programming, but in terms of the delivery, yun yung kailangan pa namin pag-usapan.
Yes, maraming salamat, Sir Angelo. And I think that's precisely, Sir Angelo, why we're doing the piloting. Hindi tayo bibigla, the piloting is a way to collect data, okay? Aalamin natin, the pilot classes will be our source of data in order to better understand how to better approach, because I don't think we can always hope, and preparations have been made in order for us to do the pilot classes, but we should never expect na it's going to be 100% perfect. That's going to work as is. Okay? The pilot is precisely there in order for us to collect information and data to guide the succeeding expansion yung sinabi nga ni Sir Jello kanina, nagagawin natin. Okay? for the pilot for the expansion of face-to-face learning in the country. And siguro, Sir Angelo, I don't know about your opinion about this one, pero I think similar to how we approach when the pandemic started, I think that should also be the mindset, that let's not be too hard on ourselves, okay? Because we're easing back to the face-to-face, but the easing back is not necessarily going back to the usual, because the usual now is a different thing. Okay, iba na yung babalikan natin, and therefore it's not what we used pre-pandemic. So let's be easy on ourselves, okay? Forgiving and be lenient siguro sa ating mga sarili. Okay? Now, Sir Jello, the next question is on your advice, okay? Basically, your tips maybe for our teachers on how can the teachers better navigate, sorry with the spelling, in the post-pandemic scenario. Ano yung mga preparations maybe of our teachers? Because in one way or another, we know we're going to go back. Okay, that's the fact. Okay, Um, a question ngayon, Sir Jel, is that how should our teachers prepare themselves, and what are the things that they need to prepare for this?
Actually, sir, no, parang katulad ng binanggit mo nung huli kayo na don't be hard on yourself. Unang-unang tip yon na tingin ko makakatulong, no, na parang as we try to really visualize, no, kung ano yung mangyayari in the post-pandemic scenario, at nakita na natin, no, ng medyo silip ng kaunti dun sa scenario natin post-pandemic. Una ay mindsetting kasi, no, parang yung mindset natin towards that vision. Alam natin na magiging mahirap, may challenges, but trying to fix that mindset, change management kasi is also an important skill na parang there will be changes along the way. Kahit ngayon, no, kahit yung nangyayari ngayong araw, baka iba yung mangyari tomorrow kasi ang bilis magbago based on the context of the based on yung mga cases in the community pagdating sa COVID-19, etc. Maraming nagbabago. So yung change management is one of the skills na kailangan ay ma-internalize natin, should I say. We know that teachers are doing that, but kailangan mas tatagan pa natin yung optimism. Yun yung unang-una, mindset and attitude towards the change. Pangalawa, support system kasi importante. Yung hindi lang ikaw yung parang you are feeling alone in the endeavor. Mas maganda kasi na merong collaborative spirit pagdating sa for example, teachers within one school na you are trying to reflect and provide maybe insights sa isa't isa pagdating dun sa kanilang sa pinagdadaanan ng bawat isa day in day out. Kasi yun yung yun yung mga insights na yun, yung pwede natin magamit. Katulad ng sinabi ko kanina sa school head, ang aking reference kasi ay good practices and the challenges. Ano yung pwede naming dalhin papunta dun sa scenario na yun na tingin namin magiging effective at magkakaroon ng impact pagdating dun sa konteksto ng post-pandemic. And thirdly siguro ay aside from the mindset, the attitude and support system, kailangan din po na mabigyan din tayo ng siguro in addition din sa support system ito ng capacity building. Kasi alam natin na magkakaroon nga ng challenges. So to help teachers better navigate the post-pandemic scenario, kailangan ay ipakita natin sa lahat kung ano yung mga possible scenarios. So katulad ng ginagawa natin ngayon na naipakita natin yung isang spectrum, no, na hybrid learning yung pwedeng maging scenario in the post-pandemic point of our delivery of basic education services. So capacity buildings like this ay makakatulong din to better navigate. Pero lastly, siguro yung immersion natin at yung, again, pinuulit-ulit ko, no, yung sharing ng mga nag-pilot ay importante. Kasi doon mas makikita natin. Kaya talagang very keen ako dun sa pagtingin ng mga posts ng DepEd Philippines pag merong mga updates on the conduct of the limited face-to-face classes. Ano yung naging mga best practices? Ano kaya yung medyo naging problem or challenge? Kasi yun yung pwede magbigay sa akin at sa mga teachers din ng idea on how it is happening. At para alam ko naman ang teachers ay meron ding internal instincts yan na kung paano pag nakita nila or na-present sa kanila yung mga bagay-bagay ay merong instinct on how to really cope with the scenario, with the situation.
Yes. So I think siguro bottom line din nun, Sir Jello, is that yung ating pagiging adaptive, we can't approach this with a formula. Yung siguro yung teachers, never think na merong formula pagpasok natin o pagbalik natin in a face-to-face setup, Wala talaga tayong magagamit na formula. It's really all about calibrating, recalibrating everything once again, okay? Once we go back to face-to-face setup. And siguro, Sir Jello, from my perspective naman, as a technology integration consultant, is that I'd like to believe that our teachers have learned so much in the pandemic years, school year. So what you need to do is to audit your bag of technological tools and applications and knowledge, and try to see if those are fitted or can be fitted in a hybrid or high flex setup. Kasi meron dyan talagang very strong in an online setup, pero meron dyan are adaptive enough that can be applied in high-plex setup. So, dalhin natin yun, baunin natin, okay? Para hindi nasayang yung ating mga natutunan in the past 2 years in the pandemic years. Okay? Sir Jello, our next question would be okay, this one is what's your take on what aspect of the pandemic education is going to be necessary in defining the post-pandemic? Kasi maraming nagbago sa pandemic education natin, during the pandemic education or the education during the pandemic. Sir, ano yung pwede nating baunin from those learning experiences that can define the post-pandemic education?
Actually, I think all the aspects. Yun yung sagot ko dyan sa ano. Parang lahat ng mga ginawa natin, tinry out natin, lahat ng mga successes and failures, lessons learned in starting last school year until now. Tingin ko yun yung magde-define kasi parang in the context of DepEd, they are also trying to gather feedback, inputs from the field kung paano nangyayari yung ating delivery ng basic education services. Like for example, the crafting of the learning continuity plan ng mga schools. Diyan ay contextualized yung implementation ng ating education starting last school year, 2020-2021 hanggang ngayon. So tingin ko ay lahat ng mga ginawa, natutunan, failure, successes, lessons, lahat yun nagde-define ng post-pandemic education natin. Again, we presented one scenario. However, pag dumating tayo, again, as I mentioned, bawat araw iba-iba yung nangyayari, medyo nagkakaroon ng pagbabago. So maybe that also will entail or that will affect the post-pandemic education scenario.
Yes, I agree Sir Jello. Huwag niyong kakalimutan yung natutunan natin because those are going to be essential in the post-pandemic scenario natin, teachers, no? Okay? So it's not again going back to the usual. It's about going back there, and with everything that you have learned so far in the last 2 years of pandemic school year. Okay, Sir, these are last two questions that I have before. There are insights in the chat, by the way. Okay, but there are no questions yet. The teachers now we invite you to have your questions as well. Okay, Sir Jello, ito very crucial. Because we know and we realize during the pandemic school year how important is digital education and learning online is. Okay? Now, how important will network infrastructure be in the post-pandemic scenario? And I know it's going to take resources, but what's your take on it? And should the DepEd actually prioritize in terms of like budgeting to create a suitable network infrastructure for schools?
Actually, sir, it's very important. No? Katulad nung binanggit ko kanina in one of the notes in the session na one of the challenge is outdated technology infrastructure. That's one challenge pag sa hybrid learning. So dapat mas ma-update ito at magkaroon talaga, ma-establish, ma-institutionalize talaga. Nakita natin kasi dun sa discussion, kung napansin nyo po, mas more on the online distance learning as a coexisting with the limited in-person classes. So nakita natin doon na importante siya na kung ang mga bata ay wala sa loob ng classroom, nandun sila sa distance education. So kailangan dun sa distance ed ay updated, institutionalized, established, also responsive sa pangailangan ng mga bata. Yung network infrastructure na ipoput up in our schools. In our school in Binyan, I'm handling now a science high school. So kaya ang modality namin is pure online distance learning. And currently we have a learning management system, the Schoology learning management system, procured by the local government unit. Kasi gusto ng LGU namin na by the way, in the first quarter kasi ginamit namin Google Classroom as a learning management system. However, the LGU decided na mag-transition kami towards the Schoology, LMS, kasi we have also determined some features na responsive sa amin. So kaya ang importante kasi is the responsiveness, applicability, appropriateness ng network infrastructure na ipuput up. Kung hindi naman ganun high-end, yung sabi ko kaya high-tech, low-tech, and no-tech na category ng mga students natin, kung ano man yung applicable sa inyong context in your school, yung requirements ng network infrastructure na yun, yung kailangan natin na matingnan, makita para maiput up natin yung tamang network infrastructure. So I think that's very important, responsiveness, applicability, appropriateness. So sa amin ngayon kasi ay naka-put up siya because it's a science high school, and the LGU is supporting us. I know that more LGUs are gearing towards helping schools try to put up this the required network infrastructure.
Yes, no. I agree with that, no, yung applicability, appropriateness, no, ng ating network infrastructure. And siguro lang for our teachers, no, don't let it be a source of frustration, okay? Always survey your students. Sabi nga ni Sir Jello, no, alamin natin kung ano yung kailangan nila at ano yung present at the moment, because we can't force, no? Hindi tayo pwede, for example, mag-apply ng technology tapos wala pala tayong network infrastructure, okay? So let's wait for that. But Sir Jello, no, I'm very hopeful kasi the pandemic have shown na importante ang network infrastructure. So I hope that our government would eventually, no, and would in the next administration, okay, they would actually put up more budget for building a network infrastructure for education kasi sobrang kailangan na po talaga ng mga schools natin. Last question, Sir Jello. Sorry, no, ang dami kong questions.
It's okay, sir.
Ito, Sir Jello, is like sort of a reverse. Kasi sinabi natin kanina what the teachers should do. Pero kung tanongin ka naman, Sir Jello, in a negatively presented question, what should teachers not do in the post-pandemic?
Thank you for that wonderful question. Pero actually, ano bang hindi dapat gawin? So parang kung sinabi ko kanina ay kailangan ng ng maayos na mindset. Again, teachers ay parang kailangan nga ng support system, hindi lang dapat hindi ma-feel ng mga teachers na nag-iisa sila. So parang kailangan po talaga ay yung positive na mindset. So ang tingin ko ang hindi dapat gawin ay mawalan ng parang optimism. We know that there will be challenges, pero nandito tayo ngayon sa sitwasyon na ito, and there's no way than to move forward. So kailangan wag mawala yung positive mindset na yon, because I think lahat ng mga positive initiatives and efforts ng mga teachers will stem from that mindset. Kasi kung alam natin na maraming challenges, pero nandun tayo sa point na we try to consider those challenges as really triggers para mag-succeed dun sa post-pandemic scenario nga. Then talagang kailangan I'm not sure if this is the right word, i-fix natin yung mindset natin na na kaya natin gawin at mag-move forward with the help of everyone. So again, wag mawalan ng positive mindset in all the things that we are doing.
Yes, indeed. I agree with that, no, yung belief and self-efficacy, no, that we can do this, okay, that we can succeed in doing so, okay? So maraming salamat, Sir Jello, for that, no, answering that pang Miss Universe question yan. maraming salamat. Now, Sir Jello, meron lang very quick question from the chat. This is from Teacher Joseph Odilon Hermitanio, okay? He was actually asking for your opinion about those schools who were not chosen for the pilot face-to-face because of sort of like an unfair treatment. I think he was talking about like, was there like a politicking or an unfair criterion or standards for choosing the schools?
Actually, I'm not fully aware of the screening process. Basta alam ko ay nagpapasa ng application ang schools papunta sa division office, then the regional office, and then the central office. And then nagkakaroon in each of the levels of governance ng assessment. Yung pinakita ko kanina na school safety assessment tool, it's a long list of standards and indicators na kailangan ma-meet lahat yon para ma-consider dun sa implementers, dun sa pilot implementation and in the expansion stage of the implementation of the limited face-to-face classes. I'm not sure of the unfairness dun sa screening. However, I would like to know the context kaya nakatingin din ako ngayon dun sa comments box. Sabi niya kasi ay alam natin ngayon na pili at limited lang ang mga lugar at school sa limited face-to-face classes at hindi din natin maiiwasan na mainggit na sana tayo din piliin. And then yun yung continuation wait lang po. At ma-disappoint. Ano po ang opinion nyo at advice sa mga schools at mga lugar na hindi napili ng DepEd sa limited face-to-face kasi parang lumalabas na unfair treatment? Actually kasi sa amin kahit hindi naman din kami nagpasa ng proposal in the pilot kasi our school is katulad do sa intro kanina ni Sir Franco no, kakabukas lang ng school namin ngayong school year 2021-2022. Kami yung Science High School ng city na naiput up after an ordinance. So hindi din kami nagpasa ng proposal kasi hindi pa kami fully established. Kulang pang facilities namin in the school to accommodate in-person classes. So we did not submit an application to be considered dun sa limited face-to-face. However, tingin ko personally I believe na nagkaroon naman ng maayos na screening process ng pagpili kasi tiningnan naman across levels of governance yung readiness ng mga schools in terms of the school safety assessment categories contained in the school safety assessment tool. Tingin ko rin naman kung kahit hindi kami nagpasa, hindi kami ready, tingin ko kailangan ko pa rin tingnan kasi yung yung feedback ng mga parents din kasi baka sila hindi pa rin din ready at hindi sila one of the requirements kasi is consent from the parents. So kailangan din ma-establish natin during the application that really the parents have given their consent na mag-participate yung kanilang mga anak in the limited face-to-face classes. So siguro let us just treat na again pilot naman ito. So konti pa lang yung pinili and then maybe in the expansion stage and in the last phase na 100% na ng lahat ng schools ay talagang mag-implement na ng limited face-to-face classes. And maybe treat this time as a time to prepare. Kasi baka meron pa mga preparations din na kailangan pang gawin. And maybe this is a blessing na hindi pa tayo napili. Katulad sa amin, I consider that a blessing kasi meron pa kaming mahabang panahon para mag-prepare ng mga kailangan.
Yes, that's the positive mindset. Taking our time, okay? Because this cannot be rushed, no, teacher. We'll have to take time. We'll have to prepare, no, all the facets, no, and all the aspects in return to face-to-face. Okay? So maraming salamat, Sir Angelo, no, for your time and your expertise that you have shared with us today. Teachers, maraming salamat din po sa mga insights niyo sa ating chat. Just like always, you are always amazed us, no, with your insights, no. Para lang ako laging uma-attend ng dalawang webinar, no, sa Kaabagapay Teacher Support, one in the chat and one being delivered by our expert, brilliant speaker for today. But syempre Sir Jello, no, we would not want you to bid goodbye, no, just like that. Okay, would like to also no, share our appreciation or to show our appreciation to you by presenting this certificate of appreciation. Okay. Let me just show this, okay? As our way, no, to thank you, no, for always accommodating us, no. Teachers, gusto ko lang po, by the way, no, sabihin sa inyo na si Sir Angelo, kahit galing siya ka-busy, would always make time, no, at talaga nasa-squeeze pa sa calendar niya. Kung nakita niyo lang po ang calendar ni Sir Jello, punong-puno na po, no. Ang hirap na mag-squeeze ng mga events. But for our community, this is the second time that he's been with us, okay? He would always make time, okay? And with that, Sir Angelo, we would like to present the Certificate of Appreciation. This Certificate of Appreciation is respectfully awarded to Angelo Uy for sharing his knowledge and expertise in the recently concluded webinar entitled Hybrid Learning Post-Pandemic Scenario, awarded on November 18, 2021, to be signed by Paula May J. Mendoza, Angelo B. Malyari, and yours truly, Franco Nicolo P. Adun. Na-miss lang po namin, but will also be signed by Sir Joseph Angelo Santos. Okay? All of your administrators, okay? For a total training duration of 2 hours. Okay? Maraming salamat, Sir Angelo, no, for your time, okay, today. And of course, we wish you all the best for Binyan City Science and Technology High School. I know you'll do great, okay? And we can see that now. And we are so confident that the schools, the students, and the parents of your school, no, are in good hands. Pero sir, bago po kami magpaalam, we would like to ask for a simple message for our teachers, no, as we continue to go through for the second pandemic school year, and for all of us, no, or for the rest who will soon go back, no, to face-to-face setup.
Katulad din ng mga nabanggit ko kanina, no, during the discussion and my answers to the questions, ang umpisa kasi ng lahat ay yung mindset and change management attitudes natin. We know, we recognize, we acknowledge that there will be so many challenges along the way. However, it's our duty, no, and responsibility to our learners that we deliver basic education services and we ensure learning continuity despite the pandemic. Alam natin na nakita ko rin, no, in the comments kanina na marami tayong learning losses. We recognize that. Kasi nasa bago tayong phase ng delivery ng education at tinitingnan natin, no, starting from last school year hanggang ngayon kung ano yung mga gains natin at ano yung mga losses natin. And dapat ma-consider natin yon, ma-recognize natin, ma-acknowledge natin na lahat yon ay magiging parte ng kung ano man yung magiging sitwasyon natin pagdating na tapos na ang pandemic. And we hope, no, na makita-kita tayo sa finish line nang may ngiti pa rin sa mga labi natin at hindi tayo pagod, hindi tayo stressed. Pero kung meron man, pa rin, dapat ma-manage pa rin natin yon sa sarili natin and also with the help of our support system. Thank you very much po.
Maraming salamat, no, Sir Angelo, for that input, no, and for that message. Okay, so teachers, let's show our appreciation to Sir Angelo, no, for his time, no, and expertise this afternoon. Let's put that in the chat para pumabasa ni Sir Angelo later, no, pagkatapos ng ating session. Sir Angelo, we'll now bid goodbye to you. Maraming salamat po, and we still hope to see you again here back, no, in our community at Kaagapay Teacher Support. Okay, paalam po. Okay, so teachers, maraming salamat, no, for being with us here at our Thursday session. Okay, I will now be showing you your certificate, your evaluation link, okay, for your certificate, no, and of course, no, we also would like to hear your opinion about our session for today. Okay, so please do let me know if the link is working or if you can access, okay, our evaluation link. Okay. So that's bit.ly/reimagined5. Okay, we're not using tidyurl.com today because it's not working. Okay, you cannot access tidyurl.com today. So kung meron po kayong mga links, by the way, that you have given using tinyurl, those links are not working for today. Okay. So teachers, again, no, siguro lang before we conclude, no, and while I'm waiting for some confirmation that the link is working and that the evaluation is working, is let's be I'm not selling insurance or anything, but let's be open-minded. Okay, let's approach this, no, with that much open-mindedness, no, just like how we approach the pandemic school year. Okay, so parang babalik lang po ulit tayo dun, no. Pero siguro what's good is that we have knowledge, no, of both aspect, no. We have experience of a face-to-face setup as well as our online setup, no, and maybe the challenge is really to look at, no, at this juncture as how do we put those two things together, our online experience and our face-to-face experience. Okay, let me just check, no, meron daw pong typo yata sa ating link. Okay, let me just go to our form today. Okay, just give me a moment, teachers, para lang po ma-correct natin. And of course, please do let me know, no, sa ating chat. Okay. Okay. For a while po, teachers. Okay, sorry. May typo sa ko sa poster ko. It should be with the I, reimagined. Okay. Let me type that in the chat na lang, teachers. Okay. Can you please access that via our chat. Siyempre, nakalimutan ko yung letter I. Okay? That should be reimagined. Okay? Can you let me know, teachers, if you can access it from the chat box? Okay? bit.ly/reimagine. May typo po yung poster ko. Okay? Okay. Ayan. We'll just wait, teachers, no, if you can access na it from our chat. Okay? Siyempre, yung palang ano natin ang may mali, no? Yep, it's working na po. Okay na po, sir. Maraming salamat, no. I'll fix also the poster so that you ano no, let me just change that first so that you're not confused. Okay. And teachers, I'll be waiting for your evaluation and I'll be sending your certificates in 5 to 7 days. Please let us see each other again, no, on Saturday for our next event. Paalam po.